Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Business of Fun podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by my friends at Booking Protect, a cover genius company. Fresh off a great visit to Sydney, Australia, and Parramatta for the Ticketing Professionals Conference, check them out at INTIX in Seattle. True fact, I was born in Bremerton, right across the Puget Sound from Seattle, so I'm certain that you'll see me there as well. My guest today, coming back for round 3, is my friend Simon Severino, the CEO of Strategy Sprints. I wanted to have Simon on today to talk about how you can plan for 2023, how you can deal with strategy at a challenging time, and just to catch up because I like to talk to Simon. Before we get to my conversation with Simon, I want to remind you to check out the Talking Tickets newsletter. That's at talkingtickets.substack.com. My weekly ticket newsletter. 5 big points, some numbers, some images, all kinds of great stuff. Keep playing with it to make sure that it's valuable, fast to read, and most of all, actionable. So check it out. Check out my website, davewakeman.com. I'm going to start rolling out some brand new stuff for next year. I'm going to see if I can do some virtual stuff. I'm going to probably even have a few free webinars for the period between now and the end of 2023. Just planning this week, right? This week and into next for Thanksgiving to figure out what in the world I want to do. I was super busy and haven't had a chance. So back to Simon. Simon Severino, he is the CEO of Strategy Sprints. StrategySprints.com is his website. We talked about 2023, planning ahead. We talked about the need for feedback and a feedback loop so you can understand if you're making progress or not. Simon shares some really great resources that you can download off of his website. All you can do is go right to the thing and sign up. There's not like a big process or anything. It's great. We talked about what measurements matter, planning, all kinds of great stuff that if you are in tickets, it matters, or if you just want to listen to Simon, it matters. This is, again, another really actionable and valuable conversation between me and Simon Severino on the Business of Fun podcast. All right. I want to welcome back for the 3rd time, Simon Severino to the Business of Fun podcast. Simon, what's up, man?
Hey, Dave. Good to be here again. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, this is good. We've had our, because we've talked about this every time, so we'll just go ahead and get this out of the front at the start. Our crypto wallets have gone up, and now they've gone down, and now they've kind of stabilized for a little bit of time. So I know that you always ask me how mine is doing, and mine is not as good as it was, but it's not completely in the dirt. So that's a random crypto update. But how are things going on your end?
I'm learning every day and refining my systems because some things totally imploded. I lost a ton of money on Luna. I'm red on Bitcoin right now. And then other things have absolutely done very, very well. I've learned to swing trade. I've learned to come up with different tactics for different cycles. So I'm learning on this journey of being a relatively new investor. I'm learning about being an investor every week. And I make it a system. So I improve the exit points, the entry points, how I rebalance, how often I rebalance. Like everything else, it becomes a practice. It becomes a system, and it gets better month after month. So right now, I'm using the bear cycle. I'm mainly buying, accumulating, and preparing for when the next cycle goes up.
Yeah, I like this idea that your system should improve as you go, because I read a book, right? And it's called A New Way of Thinking by Roger L. Martin, who I am going to try to get on the podcast very soon. But it's a great book. And he talks about how models, right, are like the way that we run our businesses, the way we run our lives, and how when you see a industry or a business or just things that are struggling or in decline, it's usually because they're far too wed to the model and to use your term, system, the way it always has been. And, the way you just phrased it as well, like my system is improving each step of the way. I think it's a very valuable lesson for people to keep in mind as we have our conversation today, because what I wanted to have you on to talk about was we're recording this at the end of October of 2022. So we're like midway in the 4th quarter. People's attention will start turning to the holidays soon. They'll start thinking about 2023. So I wanted to have you on to talk about how to plan for 2023, how to market, sell, brand, create strategy in turbulent times and downturns. And we'll probably, maybe we'll get a chance to highlight some of the examples from your great book, Strategy Sprints, that I had a chance to read frequently and wanted to have you on to talk about as well. And I think everything comes through that. So let me begin by asking you, as we head into the last, 8 or 9 weeks of the year, what are you telling people as far as planning for 2023, especially understanding that the environment we're entering is probably going to have some turbulence, right? You're in Europe. You're dealing with the impacts of the Russian aggression against the Ukraine, and that's causing inflation and causing rising energy prices. It's damaging already fragile supply chains. But I think some of these things are problems around the world. How should people be approaching their thinking about planning for 2023?
It will be a very interesting quarter, and all bets are off. So scenario planning is a very good idea, to have a base case and some less probable cases, and to prepare for the one that you see coming, but also to pick the strategy that fits all the three, both your base case and your less probable cases. So what's the best strategy? The one strategy that fits all three cases. And how do you do that practically? Practically, there is one core process, and then there are different projects that come and go. The core process will be vital. So the first thing is, in a recession, you have to change your offer. You have to adapt your offer. You cannot sell as usual. You need to focus on the vital parts. It's not the nice to have parts, it's the vital parts that you need to focus on, and always from your client's perspective. So double check your offer if it's really vital. What are the vital ones? It's time and money. And if you're a tech company, then probably your software, your hardware is delivering time for them, because you save them time by doing stuff. That's what technology does. Or if you are on a consulting side, you might help reduce costs, or you might help increase sales. Those are the vitals. So if you can update your offer and refine it so that you really capture the vital concerns of the people you are here to serve. So double check, how is their life changing? How are their needs changing? And do we still have a fit, or do we have to tweak and refine around the vitals? That's the first thing to do. And then you concentrate on your process, because whatever happens, your process is always the same. Like we discussed in the beginning, bear market, bull market, the process is always the same. And what is the process? The process is the core value creation. So the process is how you create awareness, interest, engagement, how you close, deliver, and retain. That's your core process, made of a few elements. So you think about the element, how do you create awareness? That will be probably something around social media. And so you pick those that work best, and you start systemizing them, writing down, creating an SOP, delegating it to a software or to a person. So you make it impeccable. You put in self-correcting loops, self-healing loops. This is something that we know from systems theory and from management consulting, how to build. And so you systemize that so that it works, whatever the weather, whatever the person doing it. And so now this business is less dependent on good weather, is less dependent on talent, is less dependent on you, the founder, is less dependent on any single variable. And now you have increased the resilience of the core process. The rest are then projects. Because these 6 elements, they will have a bottleneck. One of these parts will be the weakest part at each moment in time. We call it a bottleneck. Now, a project is a dedicated 2-3 weeks of solving that bottleneck. For example, we're not getting enough people completing our quiz. That's what I heard today from an entrepreneur. Yeah, I have these amazing quiz funnels, but today I had 0 people completing the quiz. So the bottleneck is the awareness stage when they enter your funnel. So if that is the bottleneck, you can start a project around that. In our world, that's a weekly project, but you can say, all right, this will take 3 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever your project cycles are, to run experiments. And Roger Martin would say, you write down your assumptions, your heuristics, and see which one are true and which one are not. So yeah. And when you found that, then it's an algorithm. But before that, it's a heuristic. Sometimes if I do this, this happens. That's a heuristic. But later on, you find out what really works. Every time I do this, this happens. That's an algorithm. Then you are done. Then you can move to the next part and improve the next part. It's a project. But the underlying process, that's the core. And so if you ask me how to prepare for 2023, focus on your core. The core must be around the vitals, must be very resilient, must be weather independent and people independent. Must be, we call it a self-correcting, self-healing growth machine. If you do that, that's enough. That should be your first quarter. And in the second quarter, you can pick specific projects to optimize bottlenecks.
Yeah, I like the way that you broke it down so simply. And I have a couple follow-up questions. The first one is you use the acronym SOP. And I want to make sure we define that for people so everybody understands what it means, because somebody might not be understand it. So how do you define it?
Yeah, an SOP, standard operating procedures, is just you write down how you do stuff. So for example, you publish a video on YouTube, and now you want somebody else to publish a video on YouTube. This is the core of the strategy sprints method. One person starts finding a path, finding a solution, but then you quickly write it down and you hand it over, because as soon as you have solved the problem, now you should hand it over and move to the next bigger problem, to the next level. So let's say you have found out how to do YouTube videos that convert. Now you write it down, and the SOP is somewhere in a Google Doc, or we use Notion for SOPs. You write down, okay, step 1, title definition. And then you write down how you find the title. You go into the browser, incognito mode, you go to YouTube, put the first word of the topic, and then see what people are looking for. That's how you pick the title. Then how do you create the thumbnail? Your face, open mouth, flames behind you. And then, okay, which text to use, etc. So you write down the 10 to 20 steps that it takes to publish a YouTube video. Now you have created an SOP. This one you will hand over to somebody, and you move on to the next biggest problem to solve. For example, how to find a big affiliate partner to promote your YouTube videos. When you've solved that, you move on to the next. How can I create a certification or a franchise out of my business? And when you've solved that, you move on to the next bigger. So you always move on to the next level.
Checklists, right? I mean, that's the ultimate is just you're creating a checklist so that
yes,
you take randomness out of the process.
Yes, checklist is one form of a system. SOP is one form of a system. These are wonderful methods. There are 9 ways of systemizing, and these are wonderful methods to really systemize your business. You write down what it is, you hand it over, and now it's less people dependent. You can move on, and they can start also hiring people to support it and to scale that. So you have people who solve problems. Those are usually the entrepreneurs, the founders. They solve problems, then they write it down, hand it over to people who are more manager type of people. They run things. But the entrepreneur is not here to run things. Otherwise, they would be employed somewhere. We are here to create something out of nothing. That's our force of nature. And then we move on and we move on. And we hand over what already works and move on to the next bigger problem.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense to me. The second question I wanted to ask you was about this idea of going back to changing your offer and finding out the vital parts. What I see when I look around is because of the economic environment we've been in over the last probably better part of a decade. It's been easy for people's offer and like their value proposition, even their marketing, their sales efforts to kind of sprawl, right? Because there has been a lot of money. Pretty much the global economy has been expansionary. People haven't had to be as tight with their, with creating their offerings. So when you're talking about like revisit your offer now as we head into like a heavy disruption, potentially a recession around the world, to me that sounds like you want people to tighten up their offer. Am I mishearing you, or is that right? It's like because it's like it's been easy to throw things in, and I like to tell people when I'm talking to them about marketing, I go, great marketers kill. Bad marketers create and good marketers kill. And that means that it's easy to create a product, but it's tough to kill one. Am I hearing you correctly? And if so, how do people identify that one thing or those two things? And it's never more than three, in my experience, that helps them stand out, because that's really what this comes down to in a challenging period. Is like going, you have to stand out and be differentiated relative to all the other options, because there's so many alternatives and people are going to be desperate to win people's business.
Yes, every time the life of our clients change, our offer has to change with it. So every time the people you are here to serve need something else because their life is changing, we have to reprioritize around that. And we have to double check, is our offer still what they need? And is it delivered the way that is helpful? So right now, the life is changing so abruptly. As you say, 10 years of prosperity and now global disruption. Some of them didn't see it coming. They are totally surprised. Some of them were a little bit more prepared. They did more seeing around the corner and preparing. But some of them are totally surprised right now and are having a tough time. So, and some of them are in survival mode. So whoever the people are that you are here to serve, now it's really a time to talk to them and say, hey, how are you doing? And what do you need right now? With the openness that if you hear your offer needs to change, that you really go back and refine it. The second question was, how simple can we make it? And I am totally with you, eliminate to the max. So in the book that you just read, in Strategy Sprints, the Strategy Sprint is a 90 days program that is so simple to sell because it's just, we double your revenue in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So many consultants, coaches, advisors, agencies in the sprint program, they have convoluted offers. They have 7 different prices. I get confused when they tell me all these different prices and all these different offers. And you have to make it simple for people. So what does Dave stand for? What does Simon stand for? Make it so simple that everybody and their mom can send somebody to Dave, can send somebody to Simon. Oh, you have to call Dave because of this. That topic, call Simon. He's the sales guy. Call Simon.
Yeah.
Make it simple. So double your revenue in 90 days makes a very complex process of change management, innovation, operational excellence, sales workflow optimization, etc. All these very complex things, it makes it so simple that a 12-year-old can tell it somebody.
Yes. And I want to say this while Simon's here, because people are going to listen. They're going to go, oh, doubling sales in 90 days has to be complete and total BS. And it's not, because I've done this exact same thing, and I can vouch for the way that Simon runs the sprints. We just do it in different ways. But the thing is like, if you clarify what your business processes are, most of the time there's so much slack and so much opportunity to double your business that, like, Simon's probably underselling it when he says, like, his tagline is double your sales, because I've seen sales triple. I've been a part of tripling sales in 90 days, and it's simply because just what Simon's talking about, the SOPs, and understanding how to simplify the offer and make it so obvious, right? And Simon's a sales guy, and I'm more of a marketing guy. But with sales, and this is the question now. With sales, there's a lot of looseness in the way that things are measured. At least in my experience when I work with sales teams, and I don't do it a lot because it's not really like a core skill of mine. But how do you help in a period like we're facing, a sales team kind of tighten up the way that they're running through their sales process? Because there's usually a lot of I guess if you read like a lot of sales thinkers, they'll tell you it's, the selling time that salespeople are taking out, if you're lucky, if you're getting an hour a day out of them. How do you help people systemize that? Because I think that's very important now, because people they're struggling to get meetings to make sales. They're struggling to meet their numbers, right? And it's only going to be more difficult as we head through into whatever this next phase is. So how do you approach that? As my resident sales guy.
Sales is my favorite part. And it's funny because everybody hates that, right? Oh my God, the sales, oh, it's lazy. That's the part that I love so much. And for us, it's just playful and value, pure value. Because you have the full attention, right? When you're talking sales, when you're talking profits, when you're talking revenues, everybody, the whole executive team has your attention. If you say, hey, this takes 3 days more before we find this route, they go, all right, let's stay 3 days more here, Simon, no worries. And how are we tackling it right now? So we go through the offer. We have 90 days. In the beginning, we check the offer and we simplify it a little bit. Like you said, by elimination. Okay, let's make it simpler. Let's make it easier to refer. And let's make it an offer that converts. How do we see that it converts? Weekly numbers. So we install the Sprint dashboard. Sprint dashboard tells us the one marketing number of that week, the one sales number of that week, and the one operations number of that week that needs to be known, because it's telling us if things are working and which things are working. There will be a dashboard, and the whole team looks for the next 12 weeks at just one weekly marketing number, one weekly sales number, one weekly ops number. That alone changes a lot. Because can I
jump in and
have a
ask
reshift?
you?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you give people examples of what like a sales or marketing and operations number would be? I mean, I think I know, but I think maybe other people might not.
Yeah, sure. So right now we work only with B2B businesses, so agencies, consultancies, B2B SaaS. So many marketing numbers that I see in Sprint dashboards this week are number of opt-ins per week, number of trials. So if it's a software, number of trials, people who opted in for a free trial of your software. Mm-hmm. If it's a consultancy, I see number of podcast gigs that they had, being on other people's podcasts per week. That's what they measure. Other people measure engagement in terms of how many people downloaded something from our website. Many of our clients use quiz audits, quiz funnels, where they have an audit at the beginning. And so they measure, and we do also, by the way. And so those people measure on the marketing side how many completed audits this week. And by completed, we mean they went through the end, they left their phone number and email and before they go. That's one completion. So those are examples of the marketing number. Examples of the sales number, that's straightforward. Number of sales per week. That's easy. Number of discovery calls, number of dollar closed. That's it. In sales, there is just closed or not closed deal, and there is number of follow-ups. And if you want to be fancy, conversion rate. Then we go to operations. In operations, it can be number of client referrals. So clients who gave you a referral, an introduction to somebody else. I'm so happy with this service. Maria should know about this. Can I connect you? And that's a client referral. So we would say, okay, 5 or 6 or 3 this week. Another can be the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. So when you ask from 1 to 10, how likely is it that you refer? So that's basically how happy the client is. And if you are a subscription-based business in this ops category, you want to have something about your cohort or churn rate. So how many people are you losing from your current cohort? That can be per month or per half a year or per year when people opt out of your subscription. So Netflix measures number of subscribers, for example. How many people stopped their subscription this week? And so you measure how many people leave the subscription. These are examples of a sprint dashboard. And so you look at this. Every Thursday, you collect the numbers. On Friday, so for most of the teams that work with us, on Thursday, they have a VA collecting all these numbers. And then on Friday, they come together as a full team, have immediately an overview of what's working and of what's not working. So now you know of all the activities which are working for us. And then you look at that and say, why is there a plus 0.8% click rate on our emails, for example? And now somebody might say, well, let's double check. To the 4 weeks moving average of, is that a lot or is it a nothing burger? Oh, well, that's a lot. It's a spike. Okay, so what is it? Is it a person on our team, a process on our team? Is it a specific thing that we did in that week? What is it? And so you want to learn from the deviations, both negative and positive, because this is telling you your reality. And so most teams don't have such a sprint dashboard. They are flying blind. They don't take decisions based on their reality. They're taking decisions based on narratives. This is what the industry is doing. The industry? What is the industry? Come on. So you don't know your reality. Let's be honest. And sometimes I understand them because creating KPI dashboards, etc., can be cumbersome. That's why we have them ready for our clients and we help them pick the numbers in week 1 and we install it with them and make it very easy. So it's a jump start. And then you just put half an hour of your VA per week on Thursday to put in the numbers and to double check the numbers. And on Friday, the team has half an hour to review them. But it's mainly a discussion. So why do we think that this works better this week? Why is this spike happening now? That's the sprint dashboard.
This makes total sense. And I think, NPS is something I talk about, and the marketing and sales numbers might be easy for people to understand, but the operational one, I think people might have gotten jammed up on because, again, like you said, you'll hear it come out as like, well, everybody's doing this or everybody's doing that. And then the other one I hate is when they say, the average across the industry or the average here. And I go, average tells you absolutely nothing. Average is one of the dumbest numbers that I think you can use because if Elon Musk, he's the richest man. If the Elon Musk was in my living room right now, and he was sitting over, actually, you see him, he's sitting over the shoulder here. So the average net worth in my house right now is $125 billion. It's incredible. I am freaking rich. That's what average is. It's meaningless, and I like this focus on specificity, because if it's specific, it means that you can understand your world, not the whole world, because the rest of the world often doesn't matter. It's your world, because you can be doing much better than average, or you could be doing much worse. But if you look at like where average is, then it can be confusing for you, right? Because you can feel like you're not making any progress if you're below average, but in reality, your numbers have improved tremendously over the last couple of weeks. Or you could be like, take your foot off the gas because you're doing so much better than average. And the reason the average is so low is because everybody else is doing such a bad job. And so you needlessly pull back on your business because, hey, everybody else is doing 20% of what I'm doing. So I'm totally lapping everybody. And that's just, it's garbage. So let me shift this up a little bit, because and we'll take all of this stuff that we've talked about so far, and I want to look at it through the angle of smaller businesses and challenger brands, because my working hypothesis and what I've seen play out for people over the years is that about 90 to 95% of strategy and sales and marketing, branding, all of that stuff, it applies equally to big businesses, medium-sized businesses, small businesses, nonprofits. It doesn't matter. There's a small percentage of activities and actions that a smaller challenger brand should do differently than a bigger established brand. First off, am I completely wrong? And am I like putting my thumb on the scale so that like I have confirmation bias? Number one. And then number two is like, in your experience, how do you tell people to approach this when they're a smaller business or they're competing against a lot of big competition?
Since you are somebody that looks at the evergreen topics, those evergreen topics, they are really very, very similar also for the small companies. There are a couple tweaks that I propose for micro companies. Let's say everything below 50K per month, being it revenue or MRR, everything below 50K per month. Let's call it a micro company. And that, I propose a couple tweaks there, because there is a difference between you and Coca-Cola in what you should spend for marketing, for sales, for operations, both in the cash flow management, but also in terms of your attention. Your attention is limited. You have limited resources. So how can we wisely allocate them? The first thing is the daily flow. I do every day the daily flow. People can download it on our website for free. It's open source. I write down how am I allocating my time, because if I'm below 50K, that means I have max 5 people on my team. Maybe I'm a solopreneur. Maybe it's me and my wife. Maybe me, my wife, and 3 friends, right? So it's a very small team. So we have to be very wise in how we allocate our time. And the daily flow tells me, all right, I did allocate my time this way. And then it asks me, hey, which one of those tasks will you delegate tomorrow? And so my checklist is which one gave me energy or took energy away from me, and which one did move the whole business forward versus just moved projects forward or parts of the business forward. And so if you find that something is not giving you energy and not moving the whole business forward, that's the next to delegate. And this is where you start writing your SOP, your standard operating procedure. You write it down, you delegate it to a software or to a person. And there is a huge amount of software, very, very affordable, some even free, that can take tasks from you. We use, I think, 25 different softwares that do our work, and it's amazing. They never go on holidays. They are always at peak state. It's amazing. It's amazing. They never have COVID. It's wonderful. So we rely on them. We love them. And then there is specific things around costs. You want to be resilient. And this is something I have learned this from Jay Abraham, the legendary Jay Abraham, on which shoulders many of us strategy advisors stand. And he said already 20 years ago, people change your contracts from time-based to performance-based. He always said that to everybody. Not everybody was listening to him, and not everybody's listening to me today. But I keep repeating it. And now in the recession, they might listen a little bit more. Because you want, when you have zero work, you want to have zero costs. And when you have more work, you want to have more costs. So the only resilient way to have contracts with your employees, with your suppliers, with your agencies, PR agencies, marketing agencies, whatever people you have working around you in your ecosystem. Like, for example, giving a PR agency $5,000 per month to do PR is not a good contract. But to say, I want to be in the Wall Street Journal, I give you $3,000 for that. I want to be in the New York Times, I give you $27,000 for that. That's a good contract, because if it doesn't happen, you have zero costs. And if it happens, then you have achieved exactly what you wanted to achieve. And there is a reason why it's on your map. It makes sense for your growth. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on that map. So you have reduced the risk of paying for something that doesn't happen. Same thing for materials. If you are material heavy, if you rely on getting wood from some areas, and in that area you will not get that material, you don't want to pay for that. So all contracts you can renegotiate to be around results, so that when there is zero results, you pay zero. For example, I have somebody doing Facebook ads for us, and of course I told them, you get 15% of all sales. That's your commission. And he said, wonderful, that's a lot of money. So people who are competent, they will say, yes, let's go. I see the 15%. I can do millions this year with you guys. If somebody is not competent, they go, oh, there is no base salary? Oh, no. No. I don't have the confidence that I can do this. So I want a full contract, no risk on my side, all risk on your side. Well, nice try. Will not work with people who are looking for resilient structures. So you can turn all your fixed costs into variable costs, because you want, in a month where you have less work, to pay less. And in a month where there is more, everybody wins and everybody gets more commission.
Yeah, the changing of your the structures of your costs, that is a big key, because I see like this huge challenge for people. They get tied into these long-term contracts and they can't get out of them. And then one bad month, and it's like the whole thing falls down. I was like, I think my this operation runs on the $100 website and like a Lisbon subscription and my Microsoft Teams, unless I need it, and then I pay for it. So yeah, that's exactly right. Resilience comes in being able to control as much as you can control, and I think that's a very important now. It's like you have to look at everything, and you would hope that people were operating much more leanly and cleanly, and being I think the way I'd put it would be just conscious of the need to toss out the way things have always been, even before we've hit this kind of recessionary period, because the pandemic should have exhausted all of those excuses for almost everybody, because if you didn't see that like everything was fragile at that point, then I don't know what you were paying attention to. Let me ask you one more final question, and I should point everybody to strategysprints.com, because there is a section called tools, and there are like really, really great tools there. But as we're kind of wrapping up here, is So we talked about dealing with turbulence and recessionary periods. We've talked about processes. We've talked about how you can find these examples in your book. What 2 or 3 things are you and your business focusing on heading into the new year? Like where are the opportunities that you're looking at, or what are the trends that you're paying attention to?
We are experimenting right now with the setter system, the closer system, and I am getting ready to buy competitors. So first part, setters system. Whatever your sales looks like, probably there is a first part and a second part. The first part is, hey people, here we are. Hey, this is what we can do for you. Hey, can I show you around? We call this the setters. So we divide our team in setters and closers. Setters have the job of going to strangers, saying, hey, hello, look at us. This is where we can bring you. I see you. You have this problem. Oh, I had it also. Can I walk you around how we solve this? And then they get people on our calendar. When they get people on the calendar, their job is done. And now the job of the closer starts. Discovery call, demo call. Discovery call, help them make their best decision, whatever their decision is. Demo call, if we offer one, this is where we close the deal. That's the setter system and the closer system. And in the setter system, in preparing for the recession, we are developing multiple stacks of revenue streams because we were super lean and had just one core process. But now we are adding multiple organic, inorganic, paid traffic. For the first time, we're starting Facebook ads, and we never had that. But we're having fun, and we want to have multiple revenue streams. So whatever happens next year, wars, no wars, nobody knows. But we are preparing to have 7 revenue streams coming in so that if 3 breaks, we still have 4. That's the rough picture. And so we are playing around with cold emails, paid ads, all stuff that we were never doing. But yeah, and you know what's fun? When we do something for the first time, it's beginner's mind. Everything is interesting. I started reading books. I get own coaches and experts who coach my team and coach me. So we are learning from scratch, which is fun. Same thing in the closer system. This is where we are very good, but still we are onboarding more closers from different time zones, and I have to teach them, and it's different in every area. And so that's teaming and onboarding topics. And the third one, we're getting ready to buy competitors because there will be opportunities next year. And I want to be ready if they pop up. So there will be opportunity to buy suppliers, to buy agencies that we are working with, to buy direct competitors that have email lists that I want to have and that I can get for at a discount, or magazines, everything around go-to-market assets that I can buy. Like if somebody has a list of 50,000 agency owners because they were doing services for agency owners. And that can be a strategic, important asset for us. Then I am ready to catch these opportunities if they pop up. These are the main 3 things.
No, that's awesome. All right. So Simon, where can people find more about you on the internet? They should know by now, but let's tell them again. A repetition.
Strategy sprints. If you put strategy sprints in the internet, we pop up. If you put Simon Severino onto the internet, we pop up. We dominate page 1 of Google. And the specific page is strategysprints.com. And the book on Amazon is Strategy Sprints. So much to reducing, right?
Yeah, well, very much brand consistent. That you have definitely strong brand equity in Strategy Sprints. There's no doubt
product,
about it.
The Strategy Sprint. 1 book, Strategy Sprints. 1 page, strategysprints.com.
Yes, that's
1
right.
YouTube channel, Strategy Sprints.
Yes, you can't tell me that if you say Strategy Sprints that you do not know who you're talking about. Well, thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you, Dave. Keep rolling, everybody.
Let me know what you thought about my conversation with Simon Severino by sending me an email. It is my name, dave@davewakeman.com. You can also check me out on my website. It's www.davewakeman.com. Check out the Talking Tickets newsletter. That's talkingtickets.substack.com, and get my weekly update about all things ticketing. We have focused on numbers and ideas, actionable things that you can put to use right away. So check it out, talkingtickets.substack.com. Make sure you hook up with my friends at Booking Protect, a cover genius company, fresh off their trip to Australia. I heard it was a blast. I am jealous that I missed it. They will be in INTIX in Seattle in January, my hometown, really, sort of, where I was born. It's going to be great. Some great events planned. Some great sessions that will be offered. I'm going to see if I can put together one or two things for the conference as well. So we'll see how we're doing, okay? But check it out, intix.org. Check out Booking Protect at bookingprotect.com. As always, I want to thank you so much for listening. The podcast continues to chug right along. People still listen and engage. If you like the podcast, share it with somebody. Rate it, review it, all that good stuff. It helps a lot. And I want to thank you for listening. I will talk to you all again soon, so take it easy.